There's a new Emerson poll out that I think has some interesting data that we should sift through. So let's first look at the poll of Democratic primary caucus voters and who they support. So when you check it out, this was conducted May 10th to 13th. Joe Biden leads with 33% to Bernie Sanders at 25%. Now, this matchup is a lot closer than what some of the other polls are showing. A lot of those other polls are very weighted in terms of who they actually polled. So many of the polls that show Biden way out ahead of everybody else, those polls essentially polled people who are 50 plus and essentially nobody else. So when you actually try to have a sample of voters from all ages, then you get something that is a little more representative of reality. So right now, Biden out in front over Sanders. And I think a lot of this has to do with name recognition. Joe Biden, his attachment, obviously, to Barack Obama is going to propel him until the debates. I think that's when a lot of this is going to change. When the debates start, we are going to see Joe Biden go down in the polls. I'm going to say that right now because people have not seen enough of Joe Biden yet since he announced. They just know that he's running. But I mean, I've covered clip after clip after statement from Joe Biden that it just doesn't make any sense. The stuff that he says doesn't make any sense. So when people begin to see that and hopefully see some of these clips that are online floating around, then I think people will realize that, yeah, Biden is essentially Hillary 2.0. Actually, Biden is worse than Hillary. So if you were to put Biden up against Trump, there is a very good chance that Biden would not win because he would not be able to excite enough voters out to actually vote for him. Now, if you actually dive into this data, it's a little better for Bernie Sanders. So a strength for Sanders throughout this early stage of the nominating process has been the support of younger voters. Sanders currently leads Biden among 18 to 29-year-old voters by an impressive 41% to 11%. However, Sanders' support weakens with age. 30 to 49-year-olds only break for Sanders 29% to 26%, as compared to 50 to 64-year-olds who break for Biden 42 to 19. Among those over 65, Biden has a strong lead, beating Sanders 52 to 7%. Now, Bernie has the youth vote locked up because people know these people that are supporting Bernie, they are more informed. They're online. They're sifting through the data. They can see Bernie's 40-year record of fighting for the same thing. They can see that Bernie is not taking any or not having any private fundraisers, not taking any corporate money. He's simply run on individual donors, grassroots support, and volunteers. Biden has had private fundraiser after private fundraiser after private fundraiser. Biden is completely owned by special interests. Now, what that means is that the youth have to come out and vote. I mean, that's what matters here. They have to come out in the primary and they have to come out in the general election. Now, I think they will come out in the general, but in the primary, a lot of these states, they have very restrictive voter laws. So in some states, you have to register like a year beforehand, before the primary, to actually be able to vote as a Democrat. Other states are a little more open. So depending where you live, depending on those rules, that's going to have an impact. So if you are in a state with restrictive voter laws, you have to educate the people around you. You have to educate your friends and family, get them out to register as a Democrat now so that they can get out and vote in the primary next year. Now, I also want to look at general election strength. So who is strongest against Donald Trump? So right now, Biden and Sanders are tied against Trump at 54% to Trump's 46%. Now, that's the highest number compared to everybody else. So you have O'Rourke here at 52%, Warren at 51%, Harris at 51%, and Buttigieg at 50%. Now, again, I think a lot of this relies on enthusiasm and name recognition. So some of these people like Buttigieg, I mean, even Harris isn't all that well known yet. So these kinds of polls are going to continue to shift and evolve especially once the debates start, especially once people actually get to see these candidates go up against each other and understand what they're all about. But when it comes to Sanders, I mean, this, if you're somebody, and there are a lot of these voters, I mean, they don't watch YouTube, but there are a lot of people that, if you're someone who thinks that Sanders can't beat Trump, poll after poll after poll shows you that you are wrong. On the day of the election in 2016, Sanders was above Trump, I believe it was by 12 points on the day of the election, where Hillary lost. So the media paints a different narrative than what reality tells us, than what the actual data tells us. And they do that because these are massive corporations. The media is run by these huge businesses that want to make more and more money, that don't want to raise their wages, that don't want to be taxed more. That's the problem here, that are propped up by advertisers from big pharma, the insurance industry. I mean, this is why the media doesn't cover Bernie Sanders properly, because they are threatened by him. So again, you have to educate yourself on these issues through other means. Do more reading. There is a lot of reporting online on Bernie and his history and what he's actually about. YouTube videos like this one that break down exactly what the reality is in terms of the data and other issues. So again, if you're somebody that informs yourself already, good. But it's part of your job to also inform those around you. If you are aware of what is happening in the world, if you are aware of these different policies, of what each of these candidates are about, if you're aware of who is bought and who isn't bought by large corporations, you have to tell your friends and family. You have to inform other people, because that is the only way that you are going to actually be able to get a president that the American people deserve.